Hey everybody, welcome back to the channel. What we're going to be making today is one of my favorite dishes, and I know a lot of people like it. It's honey chicken. It's a tempura breaded chicken strips that are smothered in a honey chicken sauce, and it's become a favorite in this household. I make it all the time, and my son eats it. There's barely any leftovers, so I know you guys are going to like it too. So we're going to go ahead and get started. So before you start cooking anything, start cutting, start getting out ingredients, you're going to want to go ahead and get your oil heating. And I normally go with somewhere between 325 to 350 on the oil. You want something that if you take a chopstick and set it in the oil, you'll start to see bubbles come off it. That's when you know that the oil is warm enough. And it can take a little while, especially if you're using a large wok full of oil like I am here. So go ahead and set that up, get that preheating, and then we're going to go ahead and get started with everything else. The first thing we're going to do is cut up our chicken. So we're going ahead, I have roughly a little under 2 pounds of chicken here. So I'm going to go ahead and move the chicken breast down and then just start cutting into it. And you want the strips to be pretty small, about that big. The more chicken you put into each strip, the longer each strip is going to take to cook. So and if it starts to get really thick like this, you can even cut them lengthwise. You don't want a ton of chicken in each piece, or if you decide to do it that way you can, but I generally don't. And you can even pre-slice the chicken breast to thin it up, or buy chicken breasts that are already cut thin. Lots of ways to do this. Don't need to spend a ton of time with it. Because we do have 4 breasts to cut up, so go ahead and move this all off to the side here and do the rest of them. And this chicken tempura breading that we're using is a much smoother finish. A lot of people know of it from at the local Chinese restaurant, a dish called chicken fingers. Basically that sort of smooth breaded chicken. It's not the southern fried like a KFC or a Popeyes. It's very smooth, and I'm going to show you how to make it here. The first thing you're going to do is get an egg and crack that. Put that into a bowl. And that shell, and then go ahead and whisk that up. You want it to whisk up fairly well. You just want it all incorporated so it's well mixed. Alright, and then you want a half cup of water. And again, just kind of stir it together. It's not going to incorporate too well, but do that. And then you want 3/4 of a cup of cornstarch. And slightly over 1/4 of a cup, I would say roughly 1/3 of a cup of cake flour. And this is regular flour that's been blended more smoothly. Get that a little bit incorporated. Takes a little while to mix together. Alright, and you're also going to want to incorporate 1 teaspoon of baking powder. So preferably add that in before you mix it entirely. A teaspoon of salt. I'm using pink Himalayan salt as normal. And then pepper to taste. I've seen this done to varying degrees. I'm using a medley which has black, white, and red peppercorns. You don't want to put a ton in here, but again, you'll know your tolerance level for pepper. So go ahead and mix this up. And once you have the batter mixed to a smooth consistency, where it's all uniform, there's no lumps, and your chicken cut up, the only thing you have left to do now is to go ahead and fry it. What I would recommend doing ahead of time is getting a large container like this, putting some paper towels in it to absorb the excess oil, and having that all ready before you start frying stuff. You don't want to be running all over your kitchen trying to locate, bowls and whatever you're going to use to remove the fried chicken fingers from the oil. So, kind of a measure twice, cut once type deal, like I'm a big fan of. And let's get frying. And there's a couple of ways to do this. The way I like to do it is to use chopsticks. This isn't a cultural appropriation thing. They're just really the best tool for the job. Because what you're going to do is you don't want to be using the same tools or whatever you're using to bread the chicken and put it in the deep fryer, and also to remove it. You don't want to use the same thing. You want two different tools. So what you go ahead and do is drop one piece of chicken in there, move it around, and you can drop in multiple if you want. I'm just doing this for simplicity's sake. And then go ahead and pick it up, let the excess drain off, shake it a little bit. You don't want it to be completely obvious. Obviously, you don't want it to be... Can't talk. Obviously, you don't want it to completely run off, but then you go ahead and set this in. We're going to turn it up to 375 just to speed up the cooking. You don't want it to be just rolling bubbles when you do it. And the reason we're using a wok like this instead of a, more of a basket type fryer like I used on the slap fries is that if you mix up batter and put that in, it's going to go down and it won't completely seal the exterior of the batter before it hits that mesh. So it will stick to the mesh, and then you'll have to forcibly remove each piece before it can rise up to the top so that it's cooking. So while that's going, I'm going to go ahead and put some more pieces in. I don't know who cut these up, but they didn't do a great job. Hopefully you're a little bit better at this than I am, but this is not high rent, chef. And sometimes if they stick to the bottom here, you can just kind of give them a nudge with whatever your apparatus is, and they won't really break up on the bottom. Sometimes if they stick to the bottom, it's not a huge deal. You just knock them loose and let them float up to the top. Try not to drop them from 100 feet up, because that'll make the oil splash like that. And as these fry, you're going to want to flip them over and just use your own judgment. They're going to turn a light golden brown when they're ready. And if you've seen chicken fingers from your local Asian food restaurant, then you're going to know what they're supposed to look like. They tend to take their final shape pretty quickly as far as like the batter solidifying, but it can take a little while to get that golden brown. And again, we're not cooking this at 380 degrees of oil or anything like that, so it's going to take a little bit to get to the point where it's 100% golden brown. But just be patient with it. Move them around occasionally. Watch them so that they don't burn. And that's pretty much all there is to it. One thing I want to point out is that with this batter, where it's a light golden brown color that you're going for, it's going to take, and again, how slowly these normally cook, you can't be afraid to cook them a little bit more. Like if there's any question in your mind whether they're done enough, then cook them for another minute or two. They're going to take on a light, kind of a pale color fairly quickly, but that doesn't mean they're done. And again, you're going to roll these back and forth a few times just to make sure that they're cooked evenly. It's almost like bobbing for apples. Seriously though, don't stick your face in this, it's really hot. So I guess it's nothing like bobbing for apples. I'm just really looking forward to Halloween. In fall in Maine is the best season, by far. So I really can't stress that enough, that you want to gauge the doneness of these by the color and not by some sort of, arbitrary time. Like if you're looking at a recipe online and it says fry 5 to 7 minutes, if these are still pale white at 7 minutes, don't take them out. You can cook them until they look right. This isn't one of those things where, like you baking, where, it'll look done before it's done. These won't look done before they're done. And there's no, point where you look at it and you're like, oh, I'm not sure. And then 5 seconds later, you're like, oh, it's totally wasted and burnt now. These cook very slowly, very gradually. So, like I said earlier, err on the side of cooking them longer than you think you need to. And they'll come out fine. All right, and these look like they're pretty close, so I'm going to go ahead and take them out. They'll continue to cook a slight amount once you remove them because the hot oil is still going to be on the surface of them. So just go ahead and scoop them out and drain them as best you can. And then put them in your container. That's the first batch. Again, you're probably, with this much chicken, going to take, 4 or 5 batches, and it will take a little while to cook. And you don't have to stick around if you're eager, if you're cooking along and you're eager to get into these. I can't blame you. Go right ahead. They're great by themselves. But I'm also going to go ahead and just fry the rest of this up, and then when I come back, I'll show you how to make the honey chicken sauce. So just to give you a sense of how to tell the difference in color, this is one of them that we cooked that was done, and these are ones that have just been in there for a few seconds. You'll see how much lighter they are, and that is hot. So I'm going to drop it, but that was just a quick point of reference so that you know when to consider them done. And now that I have the last batch of chicken in the wok, and it takes a little while, so it's been a bit. It's been a minute. I'm going to go ahead and get started on the honey chicken sauce. It has 4 primary ingredients. And first one is sugar, second one, honey, duh. And then ketchup, which just give me a chance, and water. I've actually cheated, and I made a bottle that I normally keep this in, a squeeze bottle in the fridge, since, like I said, we've been making this every week because my son requests it. So I go through it fairly quickly, and I actually took my labeler, because I got a labeler, I'm one of them people, And I put the recipe right on the bottle because I'm also forgetful, so I don't have to keep looking it back up. Of course, me being me, I screwed up the recipe on here. So is 5 tablespoons of ketchup, 4 tablespoons of sugar, 2 tablespoons of honey, and it says 3 tablespoons of water, but I've discovered that that's too runny, so I would disregard that bottom one if you can read it from here, and go 1 tablespoon of water. I labeled that when I was a couple months younger and much more foolish, so I've since learned the error of my ways. And yeah, I have a little funnel here. I normally mix it up and throw it in the microwave and then pour it in the bottle so that we can just squeeze it on, or even in a cup on the side, or right on top of the chicken itself. So let's go ahead and get that sauce started. And as said, I'm going to go ahead and start off with the 2 tablespoons of water with my favorite cup. This is a drink and I know things from Game of Thrones. Go ahead and add that. Then we're going to start off, or not start off, but then we're going to move to the sugar. And the reason I'm doing it in this order is because I only have 1 tablespoon scoop. Really wasn't really thought out that well. And the sugar doesn't require cleaning, so it saves time. So I'm going to go ahead and 4 tablespoons of sugar. 2, 3, 4, and since I'm making a double batch here, which as you can see I used 2 tablespoons of water instead of 1, I'm going to go ahead and add 4 more. 1, 2, what comes after 2, 3, and 4. Alright, so now let's go ahead and add the ketchup, which is going to be 10 tablespoons in all. And since this is a brand new bottle of ketchup, and I am ever so prepared, I have to take the little white piece of plastic freshness seal off. Alright, now we're ready. Cut. Okay, so I'm going to shake it up because I want that little bit of pre-ketchup to come out. So 10 total. Oh, hate when that happens. Okay, 1, 2. I'm not counting these all out again. You all know how to count. Alright, now let me go wash this measuring scoop off and then I'll get the, you know what, actually I don't even need it. I'll just do this. I'm not scooping it out. So, come on. And this is 4 total tablespoons of honey. Basically, you incorporate this all, mix it up, and then pop it in the microwave for 30 seconds just to help melt that sugar. And that's really all there is to it. It will thicken up slightly in the fridge just when the temperature drops. And 1 more. And if I miscounted any of those, let me know in the comments, but don't make fun of me because I'm not very smart. Alright. I'm done hurting your ears, headphone users. Okay, so I'm going to go ahead and put this in the microwave for, yeah, probably 30 seconds, maybe a minute. 2 30-second batches after I stir it. So let's go ahead and get this stirred up. Yeah, I'm just going to set that there. Doesn't look all that appetizing now, but once it starts getting together, it's really good. And also the grittiness that you're hearing when I'm stirring this goes away once it's warmed up and all melted. Try and incorporate it as well as you can. And I'll go 30 seconds, stir it, and I might have to go another 30 seconds after that, but okay. And now we just got to put this all together. It's the best part. I did end up having, if this looks like a lot of chicken, it is. I ended up needing to make a second batch of batter and kind of got away from me. But as I like to say, if you're not making a mess, you're not having fun, or at least as much fun as you could be. So what I'm going to do is go ahead and take my funnel, take my honey chicken sauce, put it in this bottle, and then I'm going to put it all together. As you can see, the sauce is very smooth now. There's none of that gritty sound from earlier. Go ahead and set that there. This bottle right there. Put the funnel in. And then go ahead and hold this steady and pour it in. Sometimes you got to lift it up to let the air get by slightly. But if you lift it up too high, it'll pour out. Making a bit of a mess, but again, goes back to my quote from earlier. Scrape all that deliciousness out of there. Sorry if this is loud. Try to fix it in post. Special effects team. Yeah, that's what I need. I need a special effects team. They can make me skinnier. Fix all kinds of stuff I'm doing wrong. Okay, so there's that. Set that aside. Grab a paper towel to clean this up before it starts diving off the side of the container here. All right. There's that. And now we can put this all together. Let's grab a couple of, we're just going to put some sauce right on top of these for this. All right, one more. If I don't eat all this, my son will. Normally, we need to eat some of this to put the lid on, which is an issue we always come into, but my son usually will help me out with that. So I'm going to go ahead and take that lid off, shake this up a little bit. Yes, my hands are clean. And how about that fork, right? My son got it because he said it looks like one of the fade knives in CSGO. Go ahead and drizzle that on. And let me get that little misfire over here. And that is what it looks like. Going to take a bite. Very good. And that's all there is to it. like I said, we normally will make, you know, 1.5 to 2 pounds at a time because it takes time and to heat up the oil to fry them all. You know, it's just not something you want to do more than once a week or so at the most. And this stuff keeps really well. I'll put a lid on this once we, you know, knock the pile down a little bit. Put it back in the fridge. Keeps really well for a few days. Probably will not last that long. It will probably all get eaten. At least it does around here. My son, I go to work and come home and my son's like, I thought you made a bunch of chicken. I'm like, dude, the container was full. But he just will demolish it because he loves it. And you probably will too. You know, I'm going to go out on a limb here and say that. But that's pretty much all there is to it, except for 3 things. For me to thank you for watching. For me to remind you to like if you like the video, subscribe if you want to see more. And last thing is to show you some of that wonderful B-roll footage, if I can speak right now, that we call food porn.